Hey YouTube, welcome to the channel. Today we are in Ocala, Florida for some throttle therapy. Name of the channel is Rich the Return Rider. For all you guys that's here for the first time, thanks for tuning in. For you guys as return viewers, I appreciate you coming back. For all of you that subscribe to the channel, appreciate the support. For you folks that haven't yet subscribed, guys, hit that subscribe button so we can continue to bring you some of this content. Like I said, we are here at Ride Now Power Sports. I'm picking up some oil for the Honda Goldwing. It's going to be due for an oil change coming up. In the Honda manual, they're actually recommending an oil change at about every 8,000 miles. I am 4,000 miles in, guys, and I am ready to change the oil on the old Ruby. What I'm going to be addressing in this video is a couple of different things. I continue to receive comments on why do I put myself through these advanced classes with possibly damaging the motorcycle. One commenter also said that he don't think that that's what Honda intended to do by designing this motorcycle. And what I'm going to say to that, guys, again, is the classes that I take is, again, for me not only to be more comfortable on the motorcycle, but also to be safer on the motorcycle. So let's talk about it. Now, I always say at the end of my videos, man, it's better that you drop your bike on the concourse or in a parking lot than to crash it out in the streets. And I started adding to that, make sure you add some protection to the motorcycle. I'm not going to delve into it again, but on the 2018 Goldwing, guys, we have limited amount of protection out there. What we have for this motorcycle, still waiting for Max McAllister to devise something that will be better than what I have on right now, the World Moto drop guards. But folks, let me tell you why I do these classes, so I can maybe answer this question in a video as opposed to individually answering it in a comment section. Some of the best advice that I received getting back into riding with the fear of riding motorcycles came from one of the motorcycle instructors, and this was a free class. This is not something that they're trying to promote by getting paid. I just met a couple there that just the husband and the wife just bought a Indian, I think they call it an Indian Scout. And the first thing that I discussed with him, his wife is a new rider. She haven't even had her license yet. He's relatively a new rider. Is about taking classes, man. And some folks think that I prioritize that stuff too much. But like I said, some of the best advice that I received was from a motor officer that said, listen, learn to properly operate the motorcycle. It is said that we are 28% more likely to be injured or killed on a motorcycle than in a car. Now, I hate talking about doing these videos as I'm sitting in traffic here. I'm not used to being in this much traffic here in Ocala. 441 is usually free rolling. But I'm going to stay aware, especially of the traffic behind me while we have this conversation. Learn to operate your motorcycle. Learn the things that a motor officer would learn before he is on the streets riding these motorcycles. Importance of doing these classes, guys, is, I believe, is paramount. The advice of just get some seat time in and you'll be fine is a bunch of bullcrap. I'm not an expert. This is what I'm learning from the experts. This channel is about me, not just giving you advice from me, but sharing with you guys the stuff that I'm learning. Now, in learning to ride like a motor officer, it is not required for you to be doing some of the challenging things that I do at these concourses that would encourage me to drop the bike. You don't have to do 18-foot U-turns. There's none of these instructors that's going to tell you that you have to do an 18-foot U-turn, but it would be nice to do a 24-foot U-turn. I am always going to be challenging myself when it comes to motorcycle riding, because that is the journey that I choose to take. I always say I'm not the typical Honda going rider, guys. I do not ride days at a time. I do not do iron butts. But one of the things that I want to learn is to be as proficient as possible riding the motorcycle that I have. The Honda Going and the Suzuki Boulevard M109R. So yeah, let's talk about it. The Suzuki Boulevard M109R. Now, one of the things that I recommend, that I do, I should say, is if you got another motorcycle, it will probably be a great idea to do some of your practicing on the other motorcycle, especially if it is a cheaper motorcycle than your cruisers. Whether you're on the Goldwing or the Harley CVOs or whatever. Now, I have taken the opportunity to use the M109R as more of a training motorcycle. I have done the clutch on that motorcycle by myself, and it's a pretty easy job. The clutch was not the cheapest. It was probably like a $500 factory clutch with all the parts. But guys, the idea of not practicing on these motorcycles must be a mistake. Now, I understand we got folks out there that have been riding for years, for decades, and for the most part they seem to rely on road strategies. They do have decent riding techniques, but I am convinced that if you have been riding for years, or I have been riding for years, and we do not practice the slow speed techniques, that we are deficient in our riding skills. In my environment, guys, there is no one in my family or no close friends of mine that believe that riding a motorcycle is a safe thing to do. And it's hard for me to convince them that a lot of the control we have out here depends on us. Now, I still have the fears of, especially someone rear-ending me. I know so many riders that have been rear-ended. The stories are out there. There are some YouTubers that have the stories of them being rear-ended. As careful as you are, at times you're still exposed to the dangers out here. But not practicing techniques that are life-saving has got to be one of our biggest flaws. If you watch the Robert Simmons Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle, the Jerry Palladinos, and you see what most riders are deficient in, left turns, right turns, U-turns, you will realize that these are things that most riders seem to think that they have this thing all figured out. One of the things that's been humbling to me on my journey back into riding is how little I know about riding a motorcycle. Now, why I take these classes, guys, is every time I go to one of these classes and I'm challenging myself and I drop the motorcycle, it just clearly tells me I need to practice more. 18-foot U-turn? Nah, it's not necessary. But again, the idea of challenging myself, now I gotta tell you, I ride in the country. I have been on the road one time where I made a U-turn and realized that that road was so tight that I actually had to use part of the grass to complete the U-turn. So I was curious. What I did is I took my tape measure. It's not far from me. I went back to that road, and when I measured that road across from grass to grass on this little country road, it was actually 21 feet. Now, I didn't expect that, so when I started making the U-turn, I hesitated again. One of the things that I struggle with on the Robert Simmons practice exercises, not committing to the turn as soon as you're making the U-turn. And I clearly just rode off into part of the grass as I was making a U-turn. One of the other things I don't hesitate to do, guys, even while I am at my home, is to practice riding on grass. I'm careful in doing it, but I assume that if the day comes and I have to do an evasive move and one of my outlets is the grass, or to be hit or rear-ended by another vehicle, that I'm going to be comfortable riding on the grass, guys. We, the things we practice, we hope someday we won't have to use some of the things that we are practicing, but in the event that we have to, guys, it's nothing better than being prepared or not being startled. Now, okay, let's talk about another topic here, the Honda Goldwing, and the inability of this motorcycle to be as maneuverable as stuff like the Harley Davidsons. Now, again, I've seen the Jerry Palladinos do these, have these discussions. And guys, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the fact that we might not be able to turn as tight as a Harley Davidson. If a Harley Davidson could make an 18-foot U-turn and it can make a 16-foot U-turn and we could make an 18-foot U-turn, that still covers the basis of what we can do. Well, one of the key topics that I wanted to address here was the fact that the things that I am practicing in the classes that I am taking, as much fun as I'm having with it, is to make me a better rider, to make me a safer rider, for me to be more in control of my motorcycle, or as we will call it, to be the boss of my motorcycle, according to Robert Simmons. I've gotten so many statements of folks saying, hey, you're damaging the motorcycle, that's why the drop guard's on it. The day that I cannot practice with the motorcycles that I ride, I would trade it for a motorcycle that I can practice with, because that's how important that stuff is to me. Early oil changes to me is part of the way of keeping the oil, keeping the consistency and keeping the integrity of the oil, so it helps do what it's supposed to do: dissipate heat and prevent wear. So yeah, guys, you leave it in the comment section below if you think that I'm wasting money by changing out the oil every 4,000 miles instead of every 8,000 miles, considering the classes that I'm doing. Leave it in the comment section. But for you folks that live in this area of Ocala, High Springs, Gainesville, look up the smart classes that is offered by the Department of Transportation, by the Gainesville Police Department, to help keep us safe on these motorcycles by doing some of these advanced safety classes. I'm always going to promote that, guys. Dropping the bike is par for a lot of those courses if you're going to challenge yourself. But I've also been at many courses that I have not seen anyone drop the motorcycle. Take that however you may, folks. But for the folks that's asking, why do I continue to put the motorcycle through these classes, that is why. I believe it's going to make me a better rider. I'm hoping that I minimize the chances of being involved in an accident. Of course, I think road strategies is just as important. Well, guys, it's one thing to have road strategies, but when that emergency situation happens, are you going to resort to training, or are you going to resort to instincts? Something that we are taught is mostly wrong in the world of riding motorcycles. Anyway, folks, like I always say at the end of my videos, man, I don't care what you ride. Get out, do these advanced safety classes. We could only teach ourselves but so much. Add some protection to the motorcycle, and it's better that you drop your bike on the concourse or in a parking lot than to crash them out there in the streets. Rich, the return rider, out for some throttle therapy on Ruby, and we are out.